Thank you all for coming today. I see some faces in the audience who were at our last seminar a couple of years ago on frauds and scams. You may have thought that covered the territory. Well, I'm here to tell you it doesn't. There are people all over the world who are staying up late nights trying to figure out ways to con us out of our money. They're really good at it. They wouldn't do it so often if they didn't get good results. We have a wonderful panel of experts here who are going to help us understand this problem, and after they speak, we'll have plenty of time for questions and answers. Our panel today will be moderated by Jane Eccles. I'm going to have to read this because this is a complicated title. She is a member and past chair of the Sonoma County Area of Aging Advisory Council. Pretty impressive. This agency serves as an advisor to the County Board of Supervisors on many issues, including those involving seniors. She's the chair of the Sonoma County Elder Protection Work Group, which is a coalition of agencies, organizations, and individuals which provide information on protecting seniors. She will introduce our panel of experts, and I ask you to give them a warm welcome.
Thank you. Thank you all for being here. We are a work group, a collaborative, and a special thanks goes to Joe Ravitch, our district attorney, for agreeing to be part of this collaborative. Her office was doing outreach and education, and the Area Agency on Aging was doing outreach and education, and we decided with my co-chair, Gloria Rodas, to come together and do it collectively. And it's really the way that we have to address elder abuse and how to prevent it. And you're the other important part, and you're here today, and learning more about it is going to help prevent elder abuse. Just to give you, well, first of all, let me tell you who's here. And I'm going to kill your last name, Braces. All right. Next to me is Tara Underly, and she's the community liaison for Adult Protective Services, who investigate community reports of elder abuse, including financial elder abuse. Next to her is Santa Rosa Police Sergeant Bill Braces, who is in the Property Crimes Division, which covers frauds and scams. And at the end is our esteemed District Attorney, Joe Ravitch. And thank the three of you for taking time out of your very, very busy day to be here today. We really appreciate it. Let me just give you very quickly, before you get the real meat and potatoes from these people, an overview of why this is so important. In the United States, the U.S. Administration on Aging estimates 2.1 million Americans are victims of elder abuse every year. 2.1 million people. But research actually suggests this is just the tip of the iceberg. Conservative estimates say that represents 1 in 5 cases. So multiply it by 5. But a recent study done in New York says it's really 1 in 20. That is a lot of elder abuse. And as Pat was saying, they're getting smarter and more prevalent. I'm sure all of you get them, at least monthly, if not weekly. Attempts to part you from your money that are not honest. But let's look right here in Sonoma County. In 2013, Adult Protective Services, who investigates reports of suspected elder abuse in the community, had 3,400 reports here in Sonoma County. And that was a 110% increase in the last decade. And then if you look at financial abuse, and then I should add that the Ombudsman, who looks at long-term care facilities, had 900 reports. So you put those together, and that's over 4,000 reports of elder abuse in 1 year here in Sonoma County. And financial abuse in particular has been on the rise. In the last 12 months, reports of that to APS have risen 41%. What we're going to tell you about today is how to recognize elder abuse, how to report it, and how to prevent it. And each of our panelists will take a few minutes and tell you their perspective of their agency and what they're doing to help elders address it. Now I'd like to turn the mic over to Tara.
Thank you, Jane. I'm going to stand up with people in the back while I have no hard time standing. So thank you. I'm glad to be here. And everybody love the rain? Yeah. Isn't that wonderful? Okay, so Adult Protective Services is a county agency. We're actually housed in the Human Services Department in the Adult and Aging Division. So we are a social work agency, and what our charge is to investigate reports of abuse that we receive from community members, concerned citizens, and mandated reporters. Mandated reporters are any individual in a certain profession that's interacting with those over 65 and dependent adults. I have a very short time, so I will keep my definitions brief, but if anyone has questions, please approach me after the presentation. APS, this year alone, received over 1,000 reports of financial abuse cases. So we're seeing a significant increase in specifically financial crimes. The definition of elder abuse is the mistreatment or neglect that causes harm to an older and dependent adult. What APS's role in doing is responding to our reports and providing short-term interventions and resources to help mitigate the risk factors that we see when we go out into the homes and provide resources that will stabilize someone's situation. That may be involving outside agencies, it may be involving appropriate family members, and it may be involving the police. Adult Protective Services does not do criminal investigations, so when we're out in the home and we suspect that a crime has occurred, we will work closely with our police department and report to them. Adult Protective Services actually works from the Welfare and Institution Code, one of the California codes. That's where we have kind of our guidelines that we operate with. Some of the types of some of the types of reports and abuse that we investigate would be physical abuse. Many people think of it as just something as battery, assault, but physical abuse can be more than that. It can be withholding of pain medication. It can be withholding of food and water and basic necessities. It can be the intention to harm an older adult. We also investigate neglect. We look at neglect by another person who's identified themselves as a caregiver, and neglect can be basically not meeting a vulnerable dependent person's basic needs: food, clothing, shelter, and medical care. One thing to keep in mind is that what we see is many abuses are co-occurring. So when we go in and we see indications of neglect, we want to look if there is actually financial abuse going on as well. We often see financial abuse and neglect co-occurring at the same time. And financial abuse is the misuse of an elder's funds that's not appropriated for their care needs, their basic needs: food, clothing, and shelter. Adult Protective Services also looks at abandonment of older folks, and how abandonment is defined is when a dependent adult, someone who has a care need that requires the help of another person, is left alone when a reasonable person would assume that that person could be endangered by being left alone. That's what is considered abandonment. We also look at abduction, which means when a person is taken across state lines. Usually that person does not have the ability to make a decision whether they want to cross state lines, and they would have a hard time trying to get back to California if that was their choice. We work with many families who appropriately want to move their elder to live closer with them. And so it's really a case-by-case situation, and we look at the cases specifically to identify any risk factors with regard to an element of abandonment. The other abuse that we look at is isolation. And isolation of an older person is not self-isolating, but when an elder is kept from communicating or interacting with someone they want to interact with, either by mail, in person, or over the phone. So it's the willful isolation of an older person from a support system that they want to be interacting with. Who's at risk, especially in this population? Folks that have a high dependency need, and those that are really struggling with maybe some cognitive impairments or certain levels of that. It makes it harder for folks to understand what's happening to them, or call for help, or even explain to someone what's occurring. So just keep that in mind in terms of eyes and ears of loved ones and your neighbors, that if you know someone is having some declining health issues, or you suspect they have a high level of dependence, or they're showing a little bit more confusion, pay particular attention to possible signs. Are they looking disheveled? Do you see a change in their appearance? Is there a change in the mail that's piling up in their house? Do they look like their spending habits have decreased? Is a lifestyle that they used to be able to afford changing? Do they have a new person that's interacting with them? And is there a new car in the driveway? So it's paying attention to real changes that you're seeing from someone that you might have known for a while, and the patterns are changing there. Yes? Thank you. Okay, so thank you. So with Adult Protective Services, when you report to our agency, the reporting party information is always kept confidential. We have a 24-hour reporting line. You can call us at any point, and again, your information is confidential. And even when we're reporting to the police, we request that information be kept confidential. And I think that's a basic overview of APS, and we'll have time for questions and answers where people might have more specific questions that they want to answer. So I'm going to now turn it over to Phil, who will address more specific issues regarding law enforcement.
Thank you. Thanks for showing up today and for inviting me. I really appreciate that. The more words we can get out to educate everybody, the better off we all are to avoid a lot of these that are coming through our office, as well as the District Attorney's Office, APS, and elsewhere. So thank you for coming. I've been asked briefly to talk about how we go about investigating crimes, how we get reports, and how we investigate them. Like Tara was saying, some of the ways that we get reports at the police department is through required reporting. Those are those individuals that are required by law to take reports and forward them on to the police department. They could be physical abuse, financial abuse, a number of different other things. In this case, I'm dealing with financial abuse cases, so I'm going to kind of address that. So we may get that through a required reporter. Or you may suspect, or you may have a loved one suspect that maybe that you're being taken advantage of in some way, shape, or form. What that will do is that will generate, hopefully, a call to us, the police department. An officer will probably come out to your home, or you can stop by the police department and talk to an officer about that. Explain to him or her what's going on, and they'll document that report. Another way we do it is simply by picking up the phone. You guys call us and you ask us questions. The one thing I want you all to take away from this that's very important to me is that we're your police department. You know, sometimes people, it bugs me, but you guys are so nice sometimes because you always emphasize, I don't want to waste your time, so I didn't call. Well, please waste our time. We don't think it's wasting our time, but please call. If you have any questions as to what's going on or the legitimacy of something, give us a call. Let us talk to you. Let us make some sense of it, if there's sense to be made of it, right? So some of the ideas that we go over is basically how do you pick out a scam? And there's a lot of stuff that I'm probably going to forget because there's so many different ways that people try to take your money. There's great resources on that table over there. Please go look at them, go over them, take them home, keep them near your phone. These are going to be things when you get phone calls that are going to click, they're going to sit here and say, that does not sound like legitimate business practice. So you're going to refer to some of those great resources and help out. One of the pamphlets out there looks basically like this. It says deter, detect, and defend, as well as some other ones. But I'm just going to refer to it, some of this. It basically, let's see here, how to spot a scam. You know, things that you can do already that that you know, most everybody here kind of goes on the internet. Things aren't right. People misspell words. They're asking for money. They're asking for money to get more money. Things just don't seem right. They have an air of secrecy about them. They don't want you to tell anybody else. Okay? They want you to maybe go to the store and do various things as far as maybe getting money out of your account at the bank and going to various drugstore or what have you to get a card, let's say a prepaid Visa card. That's a big scam. Oh, sorry. Thank you. Like a prepaid Visa card or green cards, they're called. And these are cards that where you could deposit money on them and anybody can take it. That's a good way, quick way for them to take your money and take it and never be seen again. So some of the scams that are out there right now, I've been asked to kind of say, which scams are really hitting us right now? And they mostly have a common theme. However, there's variations. A lot of the themes are they want you to go get money, like I previously said, and deposit that money somewhere else, i.e. either through a cashier's check or prepaid card of some kind, like I said, a Visa card or a green card. The big one that we saw, or one that came out the other day that was kind of disturbing, you may have seen a press release that I put out, was a lady was at work and she received a phone call. This phone call could be at home too, for that matter. She received a phone call that was from somebody claiming to work for the Treasury Department, saying that she did not pay all her taxes on her earned income and that she was delinquent. So they demanded that she go down to one of these CVS pharmacy, Walgreens or whatever, because all these stores have these prepaid cards, and to get money, a certain amount, to put it onto the card so that she would not have any more legal problems. She obviously questioned what was going on. And what was scary about that is that even though she knew it was probably a scam, almost immediately after hanging up with this person, she received another phone call from somebody purporting to be the Santa Rosa Police Department. What was scary about that is, I don't know if you guys know this, but it was kind of news to me, that anybody on these cell phones, anybody who has a cell phone, the technology is there now to put whatever phone number they want on there to show up on your phone. So for instance, I could go into my phone and change the number. My phone may be a certain phone number, but I could change it to be the Santa Rosa Police Department. So if you look at your call history or who's calling you, it appears to be a legitimate number. They've changed that. There's also phone applications, smartphone applications that allow you to do that as well. So that was kind of scary because what happened is that all of a sudden somebody got on the phone and said, hey, we're the Santa Rosa Police Department, and we hear you're kind of giving guff to this Treasury person, and you need to pay them, otherwise we're going to come and arrest you. Well, this lady was pretty wise, but she questioned it, so she came down to the police department. First off, the Santa Rosa Police Department, nor any other law enforcement agency, is ever going to take a role to demand money from you to pay anybody else. That is not our job. So that's one of the scams. So they want you to do something for something, right, for money. Another one that comes out, primarily in the elderly community, is that somebody will call up and they will purport to be either a grandchild or a loved one. And the story varies. It could be that, hey grandma, and you're thinking, which grandkid is this, right? So you go, Billy? And I'll say, yeah, Billy. So then they go, I'm in jail in Mexico, or I got into a car crash and I need money immediately. Can you please forward me some money to get myself out of a bind? They then direct you where? To probably one of the stores, the Walgreens or whatever, to get a prepaid card, to load that card so that you can help them. Obviously that's a scam, right? I think the best way to avoid it is to be really suspect of whoever calls. And I can't go over all the scams that go on. We could certainly talk, and there will be time afterwards to talk. But the key here is that anytime you question whether there's a scam going on, please verify the information on your own. For instance, if they call and they say they're with a certain organization, you know what, hang up. There's no sense in giving them money right away. You can always research it on your own or have folks help you do that. You could even call the police department. We got some great people that work in the records division or up in my office or anywhere throughout the organization that could sit there and we know these scams, we hear about them all the time, and we're able to sit there and tell you really whether or not you're being scammed or it's a legitimate situation. So don't hesitate to call us. I really implore you to do that. Call us, let us help you out. Yeah. Oh, yeah, sure. So basically, those are kind of the scams, you know, the kids, somebody needing money, but there's a theme. They want you to go get money for something. You won the lottery, so you have to give money to get more money, those kind of things, right? So how do we finish an investigation? Well, we go out and we do an investigation, probably financial fiduciary elder abuse, which is taking from the elderly. It's generally, unfortunately, sometimes it's people you trust. It's people that are the ones who, it could be your children, unfortunately. It could be someone who you invite into the home to help you with care. It could be a number of things, and those people take advantage of you financially. We investigate those cases. We look into, obviously with your consent, we look into bank records. We follow up on all these cases, and my detectives put together these cases. Incidentally, I have 4 detectives assigned to me, actually 5, one of which is a detective at the Sonoma County Auto Theft Task Force. But he's kind of out of the realm of me giving him cases because he's under the supervision of a California Highway Patrol Sergeant for that type of investigations. But I have 4 detectives that deal with these things. So I have to delve out these investigations using a number of different criteria. One is, how serious is it? Is it a required reporting? Is there evidence? I mean, what's the solvability factors of these cases? Not every one of them is solvable. Some of them are, some of them aren't. And then what we do is we try our very best to gather all that information. We consult with Jill and a lot of her district attorney, deputy district attorneys to make the best cases that we possibly can. See if we overlooked something that we can gain more evidence and help out a little bit more, put that case together. And then we present it to Jill and her staff, and then they look at it, and either they go forward with it or they ask us to do some more homework, which is fine because that's what we want to do. We want to do the best job we possibly can do. And then we kind of hand it off to the district attorney's office. That's it in a nutshell. I'm obviously open to any questions after it. Please refer to the resources over there. And with that, I will turn it over to Jill Ravitch, our district attorney.
Thanks, Phil. I've known this guy for over 20 years, and he's doing a good job here today. The problem I have, however, is I forgot to bring the cheat sheet because we have lines. First of all, it's great to be here. I've spoken to many of you before. Pat Clothier, thank you so much for putting this together. I think one theme you're hearing from all of us is that we are here to serve you. We are at your disposal. Do not hesitate to contact us. Err on the side of asking a question. Do not assume that we're not available to answer your questions. And if we don't know the answer, what we do is we reach out to one of the other partners and find the answer for you. So the most important takeaway, in my personal opinion, is to know that we're here to help. Please use us. That's what we're all about. We want the phone to ring. We want the emails to come in. I'm here to talk to you about a couple of things. First of all, it is an honor to be your district attorney, and I'm looking forward to my 2nd term. And I'm looking forward in particular to continuing with our Elder Protection Unit. It's something I put together when I took office because what we have found here in Sonoma County is that our senior population is outpacing our juvenile population. In fact, our juvenile courts are really slowing down, so I've moved some of our staff over to work with seniors so that we can provide seamless services for individuals who are victims of crimes against older adults. And we're finding both financial crimes and we're also finding physical crimes being committed against our seniors. And one theme that has been touched on a little bit here is more often than not, you're going to be victimized by somebody you love. You're going to be victimized by a family member, a care provider, perhaps a friend, a financial advisor. It's not only stranger crime that you need to worry about. It's crime committed by the people that you care about the most and that you trust the most with your personal affairs. And that's true of the people that you're looking out for as well, because everybody has seen somebody that they may wonder, gee, you know, something's a little different about their lifestyle, or this grandson has moved in who seems to be taking them to the bank an awful lot, stuff like that. So be smart. If you're smart, if you're a good advocate, you're going to be safe and you're going to keep the people you care about safe. So our Elder Protection Unit has 2 attorneys, 2 advocates, and 1 investigator, and their job is to work with law enforcement agencies, APS, and other partners to make sure that seniors understand exactly what's going on with crimes committed against them. They're going to come out and have coffee with you. They're going to have a cup of tea with you so that you can get to know who they are. So when you have a question, you've got a list of people to call to answer that question for you. And they're also going to work hard in the courtroom. And we've been very effective at moving cases against involving senior victims quickly through the court process. Because unfortunately, sometimes our senior victims are going to have medical issues, they may have competency issues, and we want to make sure they get justice absolutely as soon as possible. And it's been very, very effective for us. The most common elder abuse violations that the office sees, I checked with one of my prosecutors because I don't actually see the police reports so much. We get about 15,000 police reports in our office every year, just to put things into context. They can range from somebody who is drinking too much and passed out on the sidewalk all the way up to a homicide or murder case. So we're seeing a whole variety of cases, and I don't have the opportunity to review everything, but according to one of my elder abuse prosecutors, don't let package deliveries sit on your front steps. Apparently there's a lot of theft going on for home deliveries. We're all on the internet, we're all buying all kinds of stuff, and it gets delivered to our home and boom, it's gone. And there may be credit card information on those receipts. I'm sure Phil's hearing about that too. Another thing apparently, I don't know, did this die? Am I still with you? Okay, another thing that we're hearing about, power company representatives. And again, you probably have been hearing about this too, Phil. Whether it's PG&E or just generic power company representatives, we need to talk to you about service delivery. We need to talk to you about what's happening in your home. We need to come in and take a look at how your power hookup is. Forget about it. Don't trust these people. You're smart people, that's why you're here today. Use your common sense. Don't let anybody in your house you don't know. And if they show you a piece of identification, make darn sure it is a valid piece of identification. You can conjure this stuff up on the internet like you would not believe. Another thing to keep in mind is, I mean, I bet everybody's got one of these so-called smartphones, right? Well, they think we're dumb because of the emails that we get every day. I mean, how many emails do you get telling you you've won something, right? Or that there's a special deal for you. I got one from a close friend that told me that he was in all kinds of trouble and I needed to send money because somebody had hacked in, stolen his entire address book, and sent this email out to everybody he knew. It happens. So what you do is, you don't answer it, you delete it, because if you open it, they're probably going to steal your address book too. I had one of my computers crash because I opened an email. Forget about it. You don't know who the person is that's trying to communicate with you, delete it, get rid of it, and then call the person back or communicate with them in a way that you know is safe, with yourself being the originating party. Pat sent me a wonderful email, well, wonderful, from Wells Fargo Bank, I think it was. It looked real, but Pat was smart. And she basically turned it over to Wells Fargo Bank and said, hey, is this you guys? And of course it wasn't. And so she stopped the scam. One way to know it's a scam, look at who's sending it to you. It may have the Wells Fargo logo, but the return address is some Yahoo account or some Gmail account or some other silly thing. Be suspicious, be smart, and don't buy into that, because once they get a hook into you, they're not going to let go. They're hard cases for us to prosecute because, to get back to the originating point of that access, they're probably in another country and they're probably using drop phones, so they throw stuff away. I mean, it's really hard stuff to investigate and ultimately to prosecute. So we can't always go after them and bring them to court. The best thing we can do is to warn you before you do become victimized by it. Let's see. The importance of addressing elder abuse is a public safety issue. I can't impress upon you enough how important it is, because seniors are more vulnerable. And one of the reasons that I believe that it is so is because I'm now one of you, thank you very much. But I remember when, and I've told this to some of you in this room, I remember when the milkman used to come into my house. He came into my house, I grew up in, the burbs. He'd come in my house, he'd open the refrigerator, he'd talk to my mom, and he'd decide what we needed that week. And then he just put the stuff in there, right? How many of us have done that? Right. Can you imagine somebody doing that today? You would never let that happen. And yet many of us have held on to that level of trust, haven't we? And we believe that these people who are here to help us, even people representing themselves as police officers, they're not going to cheat us, of course, because we grew up trusting these people. Well, don't trust them. Be suspicious. Make sure you got your facts straight. Err on the side of disbelief. I know I'm sounding very cynical, but cynicism is your best guide at this point. Do not invite people into your home. Do not say to somebody who thinks they can help you fix the roof, well, isn't that nice of you to notice that I've got some shingles off? And by the way, when you tell me that my window needs fixing, sure, come on in and I'll show you how it operates. Don't do it. Do not do it. And remember, when you email information about your financial situation, credit card numbers, social security numbers, things like that, somebody's reaching into the internet and they're grabbing it. And they're creating a new identity. And they're using it. And they're going to steal your identity, and it's going to be really hard for you to get it back or recreate it. My sister called me one day, Jill, they stole my identity. I said, well, I'm sorry, I'll always know you as Amy, and that's all I can do for you. But it took her forever to backtrack and get her financial status back. Very, very difficult cases to prosecute. We have a strong elder protection unit. We have a very strong financial fraud unit. We're seeing a lot of white-collar crime now. But even the best of the best in terms of advocacy and intervention through APS, incredible investigation. Santa Rosa Police Department, one of the best police departments in the country, as well as other agencies here in Sonoma County. My office going gangbusters. You're still going to fall victim, and we're still not going to be able to get you what you need for justice. So be an advocate, look out for yourselves, be cautious, throw those emails in the trash, learn to actually knock on somebody's door who you know and say, hi, how you doing? Would you like to have a cup of coffee? Instead of sending these emails back and forth and letting somebody snatch all of your information. If we keep relying on the internet, I think we're going to continue to fall prey to victimization. But again, I come back to where I started, which is not only be an advocate for yourselves and for those that you see in your community, but call us. And you can email us, because you've got our email addresses, and we will respond to you. And when we do, when I call you up and say, hey, this is Jill, say, I'm not sure about that, Jill. I'm going to call you back. And call me back and make sure it's me before you start sharing personal information with me. But know that we're here. We're here to serve you. This Elder Protection Work Group is a fantastic model that we're using here in Sonoma County, and I've spoken with a few of you today, and if you know other groups that would like to hear from us or other members of the Elder Protection Work Group, or if you'd like to participate in it, please let us know. Am I allowed to talk about the Family Justice Center?
Yes, and also the later life credit.
Oh, see, I'm not watching all my lines, I'm sorry. How many people have heard of the Family Justice Center? I always love to ask that question. Good, not enough of you. The Family Justice Center, I wasn't allowed to bring brochures though, so you'll have to call me and I'll get your brochure. But Family Justice Center is a one-stop shop. Pardon me? We're in the resource guide. And we have a website. Go on the DA website and you'll get some information. Family Justice Center is a one-stop shop for victims of family violence, elder abuse, sexual assault, and child abuse. We have co-located services at one location over near Kaiser on Mendocino Avenue, where any resident of Sonoma County can come and get services free of charge. We have advocacy services, including APS, including the YWCA, Council on Aging, Catholic Charities, Legal Aid to help with restraining orders, as well as my office to help with victim advocacy. Our victim services director's in the front row. Her mom's one of your neighbors. Just want to give her a shout out there. And we also have the Rape Crisis Center there, as well as other agencies I'm not remembering right now. We now have a mental health advisor who's on site to assist. And then upstairs we have the Santa Rosa Police Department and the Sheriff's Office offering assistance with investigating crimes, as well as my office, and we have our Child Interview Center located there. All under one roof, working together collaboratively to keep our communities safe and healthy and thrive. I also am proud to say that my office has received the Abuse in Later Life Grant. I always forget what it's called, but essentially it's a grant, a federal grant that we secured that enables us to train advocates and members of law enforcement. Have you done the training yet? Have you done the training yet? You're a trainer. There's a trainer right here. It's overseen by my office, and we're actually going out into the community training members of law enforcement as well as advocates on how to better detect, prevent, intervene, investigate, and prosecute elder abuse. It's just really phenomenal. We're one of, I think, 9 recipients in the country. So I'm very proud of that, and then my office is at the head with regard to that. We also are putting on a huge summit on the 30th, all about elder abuse, and you can get more information about that by going up on, probably on our website. APS is participating as well as other agencies. So we're doing a lot. And the most important thing, it's on the front end where it really counts. Because if we're on the front end, keeping it from happening, then we don't become a reactive society. We become a healthy society that's keeping harm from coming to us. So please remember that. One more thing I want to say, because you know how DAs are, we like to talk a lot. We're trained to talk to audiences called jurors. And thank you all for your jury service. I'm sure you've all served at some point, because Oakmont is one of our favorite resources for jurors. This is a purple bracelet I have on. It's like a rubber band. And I'm wearing it because October is Domestic Violence Awareness Month. So be aware, domestic violence is everywhere in our community, particularly in our senior community. We are finding more and more cases where seniors are being battered by their intimate partners and by their children, by their care providers. And so we're seeing a lot of domestic violence cases, even out here in Oakmont. Acknowledge Domestic Violence Awareness Month by wearing purple and by looking around. And if you see somebody you suspect may be a victim of crime, talk to them, tell them you want to make sure that they're safe. If you need to, you call APS confidentially. They're going to investigate. If it needs to go further, you pick up the phone, you call the police department. And people say, do we call APS or do we call the police if we think there's a problem? My answer, call them both. They're waiting for your call. Okay? So again, thank you all very much. And Pat, thank you for having us out here today.
Thank you all. Thank you all. I would just ask each one of you to do one more thing, and that is give them one hint on how to protect themselves against financial abuse.
So prevention is really important to me, and APS does a really good job when we're going out and we're working with clients to really talk with them about the things they can do. I have 3 things. Number 1, spend some time thinking about your estate planning. Spend some time thinking about your advance directives, such as a power of attorney for healthcare and finances. It's a document that gives legal standing to someone you decide is going to make decisions in the event that you're not able to make those decisions. And one thing I really want to tell people is, it's okay not to pick your kids. It's okay not to pick your children. If you feel like your kids really shouldn't be handling money and you question whether they can, there are other alternatives out there for you. Private Fiduciary Services, Council on Aging is a nonprofit that has a large staff of private fiduciaries and money managers. They also can be appointed as a power of attorney for healthcare and finances. It's a third party, it's a neutral third party with oversight and accountability. The second tip is, you're making big financial decisions, or you come across something that you're interested in, an investment or a solar panel company, don't make that decision in a vacuum. Don't do it alone. Ask someone that you know and that you trust to help vet out the information to make sure that it's a legitimate company. There's many ways you can do that, and the best thing is to bounce it off somebody. The third is, we just had 2 lovely FBI agents at one of our meetings yesterday, and they are open to having the public call them and talk about an investment or something that you've received on the internet, and they can also help screen to let you know, yes, we've heard about that, it's not legitimate. So they're local, they're here, and certainly I can provide a phone number if people are interested.
I think the one thing that I'd like you guys to take away from, is it still on? Kind of goes in and out. One of the things that I would like you guys to take away from this is how you approach these things and how you look at things. I would want you to not look at a phone call or an email and sit there and say, is this fake? But I want you to look at it the opposite way. I want you to make sure that, is this real? I want you to have the frame of mind to have them prove to you that something is legitimate, not the other way around. Because it's so prevalent out there. For every one legitimate charity, there's probably 50, 60, I don't even know how many, that are false. That are probably going to stream through, like Jill said, your email, on your telephone and everything. Make them prove to you that something's legitimate. Take the step on your own to figure out whether or not this is a legitimate business. Don't do anything in a vacuum, like Tara said. Make them prove it. You verify it. Reach out to those people you trust to ask them questions about the legitimacy of these businesses or these phone calls or these emails. I say dump them all, just like Jill. Dump them all. But certainly you can also call us at the police department. We'll be more than happy to navigate through these with you and help you as best we can to kind of come up with whether this is a good thing or not a good thing. But please, we're here for you, and call us. Let us help you out. Prevention is obviously the best way to go about this thing, because we won't get your money back many times. Certainly, if you send your money to somebody, your money is going to be gone. I guarantee it. We won't be able to trace it. It may go to New York or back east, but from there it goes to an offshore account to some other country, and the money's gone. We will never be able to get your money back under those circumstances. So prevention is the best. Be skeptical.
Yeah, and when somebody calls you asking for money for even a nonprofit or a foundation or something like that, look it up, make sure it's real, make sure it's not somebody's personal bank account. The one big tip I have for you is look in your wallet, because most of you carry your wallet everywhere you go, and the chances of you losing your wallet or somebody taking it are usually pretty great. I don't even bring my wallet with me, except when I absolutely need to, because I have a habit of not remembering I have it. In your wallet is probably too much information. If your social security number is in there, get it out. If you have more credit cards than you really use on a daily basis, leave them at home. The less information you're carrying with you, the less opportunity for somebody to reach into your wallet and steal it. That is just a wonderful way for you to advocate for yourselves. Only carry enough cash that you really need. Don't walk around with big wads of cash because somebody's going to watch you flash it, and maybe they're going to follow you out of the store. So less is more, really, when you're carrying around wallet personal information.
Just two more quick things, and we're going to open it up to questions. One is, there's a senior resource guide over there, and in the back is a list of do's and don'ts. I urge everybody to take that and just read it. As they said earlier, knowledge is power. You need to understand and advocate and be your own best defense. The second thing is, even though technology hurts us, sometimes it can help us. AARP has a fraud alert system that you can sign up for, and they send you regular emails that say, here's the newest scam or fraud. And if you know it and you've heard about it, it's better. And there's another thing locally, NIXEL, you can, Ellie, I always do that. That's my name spelled. So, NIXLE.com, and if you subscribe to that, you get all Phil's press releases, and it tells you about crime that's occurring in our community, including scams and frauds when they're identified. So I would urge you to subscribe to those. Now, thank you all. As they've said, there's many things that we have learned. I think prevention and advocacy are the two best things. But now we'd like to respond to any questions you may have. And Pat, again, our thanks. And thanks to all of you. And Pat will take the microphone around so we can hear your questions. If they're, all right. This panel, okay.
Way back in the back. I'm slow, but I'm determined.
Thank you. My question is this. We've talked about the computers and all these other ways of people trying to scam you. I think the biggest problem I see every day is the do not call list. It's become absolutely worthless joke. I get 2, 3, 4 calls a day. I don't know what's legitimate, what's not legitimate, and when you challenge these people, they're just pretending like they don't know anything. And I'd like to know what can be done about this, and it's just totally out of hand, and I think I probably speak for everybody in this room.
There are two things that I'll start with, which is you have to resubscribe after 5 years. So if you haven't resubscribed for 5 years, your name is no longer on the do not call. Secondly, caller ID. If you don't recognize the number, let them leave a message. You do not have to answer your phone. And there are two reasons none of us in this room as we get older should rush to answer the phone. It could be a fraud or a scam, and you can fall if you're rushing it. So let the phone ring and let it go into voicemail.
And in the back of the resource guide, there is a list of agencies like the FBI, the Do Not Call Registry, and some other resources.
I just want a clarification. I think this was in the captain's presentation. The telephone company has, whoever, Apple or Verizon or whatever, has made a phone that the person can change what their number appears on a call that they make.
Yes, sir.
With the name, not just the number, but with the name of that party, like the Santa Rosa Police Department.
No, what happens is, what they do is they can change some things inside the phone. Some phones have it, some don't. That whatever call, like for instance, we all receive a call, on our cell phones if we have one, or our home phone, and we go, oh, we recognize that as being our daughter, or our wife, husband, whoever. And so we recognize that. Well, in this case, at least in many cases, what can happen is they could put in any number of their choosing. So they could put a police department, they could put perhaps even one of your kids. I don't want to make you scared or anything, but they have those abilities to do those things. And then they have phone applications, which is basically a phone application is something you can download into your phone, many of you know what that is, but they have it for virtually everything. Well, there's some out there that can change your phone number. So when I call you, it's not my true phone number, it's somebody else's phone number, or the phone number of my choosing that'll pop up on your phone to say, who's calling me? When it rings, we look, we go, oh, it's so-and-so. Well, it may not be so-and-so. I don't want you to be paranoid, but I want you to know that this technology is out there. We only had one of those calls where somebody purported to be the Santa Rosa Police Department. But I do know that on another instance, just real quick, because Jill touched on it, we're talking about scams, and one of the things I touched on was where somebody purported to be the Santa Rosa Police Department. I also know where there was another case where somebody purported to be the Sonoma County Sheriff's Department, and it dealt with, and Jill touched on this about your great service to our jury system, but where somebody called up and said, you know what, you missed jury duty, and we're going to fine you X amount of dollars, and you need to pay. Well, there's legitimate ways that the court system goes about reminding you if you forgot to answer your summons for jury duty. Nobody's going to call you and threaten you for money. Anytime somebody threatens you for money and they claim to be a law enforcement agency or county agency and they're threatening you, you can pretty much say that it's a fraud. We don't do that. But see, when I was talking about variations of where they try to do it, there's always a theme, but there's variations to those things.
Yeah, every 2 weeks, I get an email. I have not paid my bridge toll.
Well, maybe you haven't. Have you gone across any bridges? You have to ask yourself. Well, it depends. I mean, I know actually it happened to us where we came across the bridge and we didn't have one of those new things. They're called Fast Track, I think, right? And so we didn't have any cash on us, and me and my wife looked really silly at each other, and they sent us something, but they sent us it in the mail. And it was a legitimate thing, and it also provided all the information such as phone numbers that I could call, and things like that to verify it. And I could also look it up on my own, right? To sit there, and if it's a San Francisco Bay Area Bridge District or what have you, I can look that up, whether it be on the computer or some independent source to verify that it's legitimate. But that's what I would do. If it doesn't give you any information to follow up on, I would disregard it. Yeah, and they usually, when they send you something, they have your license plate, which is usually your address, and if it's up on record and it's current with the Department of Motor Vehicles, that's where they're going to send it. So if they're not sending you anything, they're trying to hook you probably through the evening.
I'd like to know if online banking and online portfolios are safe. I know it's supposed to be a secure site, but can your passwords be somehow picked up from your keystroke, you know, or something?
Unfortunately, yes. Many banks and financial institutions have encrypted, well, they all have encryption to try to prevent things like this from happening. But as we found out recently, you know, for everybody who is really good at preventing people from breaking into, you know, the internet system, there's also the bad guys who are just as wise or wiser trying to, you know, deceive you and break in. We've heard that with what, Lucky Stores, now Walmart, or Target, I'm sorry, and now Home Depot. Yeah. So we're not immune to it. I mean, unfortunately, sometimes it's a part of life that we have to do some online stuff. But you should be cautious, review your statements, and if there's any questions, obviously call your bank to verify anything.
Hello, I have a question. As a concerned neighbor and friend of someone who I see deteriorating and whose child is not providing the adequate care, and even though I might address that situation to the child sort of refuses to take any responsibility. What recourse do I have as really a concerned person? Who do I call, or can I do anything because it's elder abuse?
Absolutely. So what you would do is you would make a report to us. You would give us a call. We have a number that's available 24/7, and you call and you make a report. It's anonymous. And what will happen is a social worker will go out and look at the situation within 10 days and really work with the daughter to find some other solutions that she may not know are aware. She may not know resources in the community. We will really explain her obligation to help her mom. Her mom does, if her mom is in the place where she's still making her own decisions, our services are voluntary. So we will go out and meet with her, but if your neighbor is still in a place where she's making her own decisions and she doesn't want to speak to us, then it's harder for us. But what we encourage the public to do is to continue to report to us. Each report that you make just doesn't go into a black hole. Each time we go out to make contact with the person, the situation may have changed from the last report that's made, and it helps kind of build a situation that has history for us. So,
Is it possible for the social worker to make an appointment with, say, me, if I'm making that call because I'm concerned, so that the social worker would speak first with the neighbor and get a clearer picture of what's going on?
well, what you'll do is when you make the report to our office, you will talk to an intake person and you will explain in detail what your concerns are. So our social worker will be made aware from the report that you make all of your concerns. You can provide as much detail as you'd like. APS is going to deal directly with your neighbor. We're going to see her in a private setting first to talk with her about what the concerns are.
Thank you.
Yes, my question is dealing with, you talked about the phone, being able to change phone numbers. Is it possible for them to, when you're on your computer, if they've hacked in some way, to then call you? I got a call the other day. I was on the computer, and all of a sudden I got this phone call telling me that my computer had been hacked into and that they were calling to help me resolve the situation. And of course, I knew it was a scam and politely hung up on them. But it's kind of scary when you get on that computer and somebody calls you.
Thanks for bringing that up, because it has happened before to where once they'll call you, one of the scams, I mean, like I said, there's so many scams out there that, we all have come across many of them, but not all of them. One of them is they'll call you up and say that they're with Windows or Microsoft and your computer's having a problem, they need to update it, and they ask you to log on and do all these things. Well, what they can do is they can remote access your computer, which means that they can take over your computer from a different location, or there is programs that can sit there and actually track every keystroke that you do and follow you. Does it happen all the time? No. Is it out there? Absolutely. The technology is there and it does happen. So you have to be very, very skeptical of that. Anytime anybody calls you up and wants you to log onto your computer because of some problem or they want you to verify information, you got to be skeptical about that and not even believe them. But yes, the technology is out there and it can happen.
What about contractors who come into your house and greatly overcharge you for the work that they do?
Well, you should have if you're gonna, I don't know who asked it, somebody back there, but if you have a contractor, you should have a contract. And you should make sure that you see that the contractor is a licensed contractor. If you're going to use a handy person, you can only use them up to a certain value for their services. So the important thing to do is make sure your contractor is legitimate, have a written contract. They have to put in writing a change order that's going to change whatever the agreed upon terms are. And if they're asking for something extra, you tell them no. And if they persist, then you can report them to the Contractor Licensors Board. We have a consumer fraud division that deals with unlicensed contractors. We had a big scam happening in Napa because of the earthquake. I don't think anybody here had to get extensive work done, but those unlicensed contractors were going gangbusters in Napa. And so we put together a quick investigation with the agencies over there, and you wouldn't believe how many people we hooked. So there are a lot of scammers out there. You also have small claims court if you have a dispute with your contractor, but get it in writing. Make sure it's agreed upon ahead of time.
Any other questions?
When you receive the robocalls and there's no one to say, please take me off your list, is there anything that you can do about that if they're giving you an organization name?
Well, sometimes it seems like you could try everything under the sun and nothing really works. I know that there are fines attached to those kind of robocalls if they keep calling, but realistically, how's that going to affect you and protect you? It's probably not. It's probably one of those things that I personally have experienced myself. I get those calls just like everybody here, right? The one thing that I think Jill brought up was, look at your caller ID, see who it is. Don't answer those calls if you don't need to. And certainly, if you answer a call that you feel you should answer, and all of a sudden you find out that it's somebody that you don't really need to talk to, that doesn't have your best intentions in mind, it's okay to hang up on them. You guys are the greatest generation. You're very polite. You're great, but it's okay. I'm giving you permission to hang up on people you don't want to talk to.
Now, full disclosure, I just ran for re-election. Some of you may have gotten robocalls from my campaign, so I do apologize. Our robocalls went to voters who put their phone numbers down when they registered to vote, so that's a way for you to keep from getting robocalls as we enter the campaign season again. Get your number out of there. But another thing, a really great idea, I learned this, actually, I think it was my stepmother who taught it to me. If it's a live caller who calls you, say, you know what, I'm at dinner. Could you give me your home number and I'll give you a call back later? Because then they're going to stop calling. I guarantee you that.
Any more questions?
I've heard recently of a scam that someone will come to your front door and keep you talking while their accomplice goes to the back door, lets him or herself in, and robs you. So, in other words, we ought to always keep all our doors locked.
I was just going to say, I'm not the police, but I know my doors are locked if I'm home. all
Well,
my
and the other day, there was a fellow in the neighborhood that was coming along wanting to sign us up for AT&T. Well, we have Comcast. And we said, well, my husband talked to him, I didn't. And he said, well, why don't you come back and talk to me tomorrow about it? And in the meantime, our daughter and I said, I don't think so.
And there, that again, just to reinforce what these people who deal with this all the time.
He was telling us, yes, that, oh, I've signed up all these people in your neighborhood.
Yeah, but you're using common sense, and that's good. And remember, if it sounds too good to be true, it is. All right, well, I think Carol would say something. What do you think?
And just, one thing to keep in mind is if you're getting a call and you're not sure who it is best just to hang up, because the longer you continue to talk to whoever's on the other side, they're very skilled at mining information out of you, and you may even be forgetting what you're telling them. So that's one thing to keep in mind. Even staying on the phone to try to find out who they are can be very dangerous. So it's best just to really hang up.
Can I weigh in here? I was getting robocalls from Cloverdale from someone, and I recognized the name, and I called my phone company, and they blocked the number. So that you can do.
Another good idea. I think we're at our hour, and you've been wonderful, but I have to let these three busy people get back to their jobs. I would say if you only found Spanish resource guides, there are now English resource guides. Thank you, Tara, for going to your car and bringing them. Please take one. It has a lot of valuable information. Remember that prevention is best. Common sense is your best tool. So thank you all very, very much.